Have you ever had plans and then something happens and it just gets totally thrown off? That's what happened to me. Thought I was going to get this bunion taken care of yesterday. Got in there. Let me show you, I was on my way. I had done all the preparations. Got in there, got in the chair. Keep watching to find out what happened. Hey, YouTube family. So, disappointing day yesterday. For those of you who have been here before, you know that I've had this foot surgery for bunion removal scheduled since late last year. So the day was finally coming up. February 18th, I was supposed to get this thing done. So I had prepared some meals in advance so that my hubby would just be able to throw it in the oven and we wouldn't have to be worried about what we were going to eat. He wouldn't be tempted to eat out while I'm recovering. I took some time and made some dishes. I made some beef and broccoli that we're going to put over cabbage instead of over rice to make it low carb. Y'all know about, ouch. See, that's my foot. Ooh, it just started hurting. It hurt so bad. I made the low carb enchiladas. I also made a pan of lasagna, which yes, had some pasta in it, but not much pasta. So we're gonna have a salad with that. It's better to have that at home than to eat something out. So those are the things that I made ahead of time. Got all caught up on the laundry, everything. So I had gotten all my pre-op stuff done at the doctor. They did EKG. My doctor said that it looked beautiful, no problems there. All the blood work, fine. There was one thing that happened that when they took my blood pressure, the doctor didn't look at it. Only the nursing assistant said, "Oh, do you normally have high blood pressure?" And I responded to her that usually a lot of times my blood pressure would go up when I'm in the doctor's office. It's what they call white coat hypertension. But then when I would get home, especially since I lost weight, when I would get home, I have a blood pressure thing at home that I would take and it would be normal. The readings would be normal. And so the doctor had me to bring that in before to show her, and she saw it and she was like, "Oh, okay." This time when I went in for my pre-op, the nurse assistant said, well, when I responded to her that I had white coat hypertension, she just said, "Oh, okay." So I didn't think it was that bad. She didn't even tell me what the number was. So when I got all my results back, I see that day my blood pressure was actually 173 over 100. And I was like, whoa, what? That there must have been a fluke. And so the doctor ended up calling me and saying, "Hey, look, I just noticed that what your blood pressure was that day." Then I guess the nurse brought it to her attention, or she just happened to see it. And she said, "I need you to come back in to make sure your blood pressure is okay before I can okay you for surgery." And so I went back the next day and they took my blood pressure and it was 136 over 76. And so she said, "Oh, okay, yeah, you're fine. So I release you. I'm going to send your papers over and tell them that you're okay for surgery." So I was like, "Oh, okay, that's fine," because, you know, I feel fine. I had taken it at home also, and it was in the normal ranges. And so I thought everything was fine. So everything was fine. So now, yesterday, I'm on my way. I'm like, "Oh, I'm finally going to get this thing done." And so I get to the doctor's office. I sit down in the waiting room. My hubby is there. They tell him it's going to be about an hour and a half. So he goes to get some lunch. I go back and sit in the chair and they're giving me the IV and all of that kind of stuff. And we talked a little bit before and they said, "Oh, your blood pressure is a little bit high right now. Let's give you a chance to settle down, calm down. I'm sure it's going to come down back to normal." And so we waited a good 15 minutes or so, and they gave me a little bit of IV to see, I guess, if it could relax me. And It just didn't. My blood pressure, the best it ever got was something like 166 over 96 or something like that. And there was one reading that was, they took like maybe 5 or 6 different readings and they showed it to me. Just horrible. And I don't even know, I've never seen my blood pressure at those levels before. And I had been fasting. So because I couldn't have anything to eat or drink within the last 6 to 8 hours. So there was no caffeine in my system. And so they told me that they couldn't do the operation because my blood pressure was just too high, and they're about safety first, which I appreciate. And so, you know, my husband and I, before we go anywhere, we usually pray before we go out the door. And so we prayed about just safe travels and also about the surgery. And so I believe that was God protecting me. However, I was so disappointed because, you know, sometimes you just have a plan and you want it to work the way you want it to work. But sometimes God's plans are different. So I trust that it is happening the way it's supposed to. So they told me I need to see a cardiologist, which I have an appointment coming up on Monday. So that's few days from now. And that either they're going to clear me for the surgery or they may have to put me on blood pressure medication, and so that will bring it down enough, and then I'll be able to have the surgery then. So I'm thinking maybe it'll be another couple of weeks or so before I am able to finally have this foot surgery. What's really disappointing about this whole thing is that after losing weight and doing all the healthy things with the intermittent fasting and walking 9,000 to 10,000 steps every day, drinking, staying hydrated, I thought that all those things were going to help me to have normal blood pressure. But I found out that sometimes even all of those things still isn't quite enough. Sometimes there are other factors other than diet and exercise that can affect your blood pressure. And I'm learning that, and I'm doing some research on that. I'm going to do a separate video on that. So be on the lookout for that coming up very soon, because I was kind of beating myself up. Like, what have I done? What am I not doing? What have I done wrong that my blood pressure is the way that it is? So stay tuned for that video, because like me, I don't want you to beat yourself up if you find yourself in this similar situation. Even though my plans, the current plans I had, were ruined, it's going to be taken care of one way or another, and this pain is going to be alleviated. So stay tuned. I will be letting you guys know how this all plays out, and wish me the best. Let me know if you've experienced anything like this down in the comments. I appreciate your support. I have an exciting update that's coming out about my channel, so stay tuned. It's going to be out within the next day or so. See you in the next video.